Well, hello there. Today with our good friend Logan. Logan's our neighbor and been our friend for about 10 years. Logan, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm
How old are you?
27 years old. I've got a wife, 2 kids. We've got 2 little babies, 2 years old and 6 months old. I've been a very outdoorsy person all my life. I guess you kind of have to be to buy a sawmill.
Yeah.
So been really outdoorsy all my life. Been really into prepping, homesteading, growing gardens, just all of it. And I've had to slowly coax my wife into this kind of lifestyle, but she's really learned to love it. We started out living in a small, well, kind of a big town, not really a city, and that was just killing my soul. So we had to get out of there. And as long as she's got a place that is pretty inside, climate controlled, that she can do her side of all that stuff, like maybe canning or any other interest she might have, we're good. So we've kind of made that transition. It's been a really long one though.
Well, it sounds like you fit right into our niche, which is prosperity preppers. And so I've got a couple of questions for you then, okay, if you don't mind?
Yeah.
All right. First off, what are you doing out here? And what are you doing right now?
Well, right now I'm cutting the lumber for our house that we're going to build on our land. We bought raw land and got a sawmill. And right now all we're doing is just cutting the lumber, getting it dried, so that way while it's drying we can get our dirt work done and start to kind of prep the site. So today I've just been out here continually milling. We've got about a third of it milled, and hoping to get done before the cold weather comes here. I know that sounds a little strange, because I don't think anybody enjoys working in this type of weather, but it's just really a time crunch thing.
I understand, yeah, because the cold weather comes rain, right?
Yep.
All right, so quick question. Did the current cost of lumber, which is legendary,
Yep.
unprecedented, fast rising, did that have anything to do with you deciding to do this, or had you already planned on it?
It did somewhat. We had talked about buying a sawmill just because I have the skills of woodworking to be able to build a house, finish it on the inside, pretty much do almost everything. So we had talked about doing a sawmill just because a lot of the stuff that we were going to do was going to be custom. And if you buy timber for like timber frames, it can sometimes run a little costly. So we had planned to do it, but sure enough, once lumber started going up, is right about the time that I bought the sawmill, got into it in a really good time. Right now, as I cut, I'm probably at times making $50 or $100 an hour, but before the price of lumber, you would still be able to save a lot of money.
Oh yeah, sure. Okay. So tell me then about sawmills. So if somebody was going to get into this, what kind of price range? We're not going to get personal, ask you how much you spend on yours, but what's the price range somebody would expect to spend?
Price range, you can spend as little as about $3,000, and that's really counting everything that you're going to need as far as like the mill goes, and like a few accessories that you really don't want to live without. Yeah. And it can go up anywhere to, there are some mills that cost about $60,000, but those are with all the bells and whistles. You go over on the computer, you hit in a few numbers, and it goes and comes back, cuts them at the speed of light. This here is more of a, stand behind it and push it kind of sawmill. So this here is really what I would recommend more to people that were just going to do it as a hobby rather than, the further end. But depending on what you want, anywhere from around, say, $3,000 to $6,000.
Okay, all right, good, thanks. That's a good information. So you mentioned drying the wood. How long does that take?
Depending on the size of the lumber. So right now I'm cutting a lot of 2x, and 2x dry in good weather about 6 months. You're talking about maybe 3 or 4 months per inch. So what you're thinking about is if you've got it stacked, it's going to be drying from both sides. So about 6 months, and air dried. And everything that I've looked into, everybody that does it recommends air drying, because if you've ever been to Lowe's, you know, you've got those 2x4s that you see that go like that.
Right.
All of those are kiln drying, and a lot of times they suck the moisture out of them too fast, and you really want to let it sit for that time so that way you get some quality straight lumber.
So, so your home is, people will assume you're going to be building a log home, but what are you really building?
So I'm building more of a timber frame style home. And so basically, if you think about a stick frame, you know, you're going to have studs in your walls. It's all going to be made out of like 2x4s, 2x6s, 2x8s. This here is going to be made out of a lot of posts and beams. So you'll have by post are going to be 6 inches by 8 inches. And then a lot of the beams are going to be anywhere from, 8x8 to 6x8 to 4x6. So they're a lot larger pieces of wood as far as the girth and width of them goes.
So first thing I'll think about is critters like termites and
Yep.
carpenter ants and so forth. Is there a plan you have for protecting your wood from those things?
On storing it, yes, storing it up off the ground and having it to where it's in the shade helps in a really dry spot. That is really the only thing that you need to do. Some people, if you're really afraid of it, you could go around, say, where you've got your wood stacked up and spray. But as far as treating the wood prior to that, it's not really necessary. Now, as far as in the house, if you're going to put anything into concrete, it needs to be treated wood. Because if it's not, the concrete, just the way that it wicks moisture, will rot away the post in no time. My design has to do with a crawl space and gravel, and it has to do a lot with protecting everything from rain, keeping it dry, and having proper drainage. So a lot of it won't need any treatment, and a lot of it's going to be interior wood, so there's no need to treat it. But for anything where you might run into problems where you're going to have moisture, or where you're going to have a place where you're not really going to see that much, it's probably wise to use some sort of treatment.
Okay, all right, good. So in summary, what advice would you give to somebody thinking about doing this kind of thing? A big, huge do-it-yourself project.
Yeah.
Any advice for them?
Go into it. Don't go and do it and think, oh yeah, I saw somebody build a house and they had 5 guys working out there and they did it in 3 months, and then say, oh well, that means that I could do it in a year. I mean, a lot of people, I think, don't realize how much work goes into it. Now me, I didn't buy any of these logs. I've cut down all the logs. I'm doing every bit of the work. And I've been moving on it, but you want to make sure that you realize how much of a time investment it is, because it is going to take a while. And also do a whether you do a budget, on paper, or you do a cost analysis, work out all the numbers before you go and buy something like this, because there's times, say if you're going to build a stick frame, cutting 2x4s for a stick frame is very labor intensive. And even with 2x4s at the prices that they are right now, it may not make sense for you to spend your time and invest in the sawmill. But yeah, as far as the project goes, it would just be, realize it's going to take some time, be patient, and make sure that you do the cost analysis on it to make sure that it works for you, because there's a lot of factors that go into it.
Okay, good. Yeah, I've always heard when you're building a house, it costs twice as much and takes twice as much time.
Yep.
So I guess when you're doing it yourself, you can figure in more, right?
Yep.
Hey, well, thanks so much for your time, and we will keep up with you on your project. Maybe get back to you a little later on after you're getting things started. But Logan, we really appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.